Hi there, my name's Beth, and today I'm going to be doing my fall book haul. So instead of doing an October book haul and a November book haul, I'm just going to do a fall book haul and include all the books I've bought so far this fall. It's a lot to say. But yeah, so I'm going to try to limit myself to only buying books like once a season just to keep the budget on control, and so that I'm reading more books than I'm actually buying. At this point, I've read 16 books since I last bought books. I've read 16, and I have 14 books in this haul, so I'm 2 books ahead of where I should be, thankfully. So let's just get on with this haul. I feel like this is going to be a long video, so pause right now. Get yourself some popcorn, maybe a drink, maybe a snack, whatever you're feeling like, and then come back and, yeah, you can watch all the books I bought. So let's just wait. You there? Okay. So the first book I picked up, I bought all these books off of Amazon except for the last one, which I found just yesterday at Walmart. And yeah. So the first book I picked up is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This is a fantasy book, and it sounds really interesting. It's pretty chunky book. It's about 490 pages or so. So it's a good sized book. And it does say book 1. It's about this girl who is a princess who is arranged to marry a prince, but she runs away before she marries the prince. And then an assassin is sent out after her. She meets up with both of these guys but doesn't know who either one of them is because she's never met either of them. And I'm going to say she probably falls for one of them or both of them, but we don't know which one it is until the end, so she could be falling for the assassin or the prince. Sounds like a super interesting plot for this book, so I'm excited to get to this one. Next, I have Alienated by Melissa Landers. This book is a sci-fi book, and I haven't actually read a lot of sci-fi at all. I've read a couple, but not a lot. So this book sounds interesting. There's going to be some romance in it, with it being a YA book and all. There's obviously romance. But I believe it's the town that this girl lives in, they do a student exchange program, but it's like an intergalactic student exchange program. So this guy comes to this town, and he's an alien, I assume. And this girl is supposed to show him around and show him what it's like to live on Earth. That sounds fun. The next book is a sequel that I read earlier this year, and that is Rebel by Amy Tintera. I have already read this book, and I've loved it so much. It's so good. It is the perfect conclusion to this duology, but I have a full duology review up, so I will link that down below, and you can check out my thoughts on the whole duology there. Next, I also have already read this book, and this is Fire and Flood by Victoria Scott, and I absolutely love this book as well. I gave it 5 stars, and but I'm not going to go into too much of a premise. I will let you know that it is amazing, and I highly recommend it. It is kind of like a mix between the Hunger Games, because there are a lot of those aspects in it, mixed with some of the aspects of Pokemon, kind of. I've heard that comparison. But I will get more into the what this book is about in my wrap-up coming up. Next, I feel like I'm like the last person to get on this bandwagon for this book, but I've heard so many good things about like all the books that go with this one, and this one, and that is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I've heard that this is like the perfect contemporary book when you have a book hangover, or if you're sad, or if you're happy. It's like the perfect book for all emotions. So I'm super pumped to read this one and then pick up Lola and the Boy Next Door and Isla and the Happily Ever After. So yeah, that'll probably be coming up soon. Maybe in November I'll read this one, and then I might pick up the other ones in my winter book haul. Next, this is a book I haven't heard too much about. I think I've heard 1 or 2 booktubers talk about this, and it is Perfected by Kate Jarvik Birch. Jarvik, I don't really know how to say. I've tried to film this video so many times, and I don't know how to say her name still, so But this book sounds really interesting concept. I believe it is a sci-fi book, and it's in a world where like teenage girls are sold to rich families as pets. It does sound kind of creepy, but it makes me think a lot of how in Cress, the third book in the Lunar Chronicles, where Cress gets sold to Cress becomes a pet to Queen Levana's niece or daughter or whomever. It sounds kind of like that. I haven't heard too much about it though, so I will let you know my thoughts whenever I read this one. I might read it in November as well. Next is a book that I am definitely going to try to read this month because it does seem like a thriller and a suspenseful book, and it sounds perfect for reading just around Halloween time, and that is The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings. This book takes place in a world where the murder rate is higher than the birth rate, which sounds super interesting, just to see like how a world would sustain itself. But I know there is a sequel to this book coming out in January, I believe. So I'm hoping to read this one before the sequel comes out so I can buy the sequel if I like it. Next, I have a sequel to another book that I've read earlier this year, and that is The Treatment by Suzanne Young. This book is the sequel to The Program and then the last book in that duology, but we are supposed to be getting a prequel book coming out in 2015 that takes place before The Program. So, yeah, I don't want to say too much about what this book is about, A, because I don't know, and B, I don't want to ruin The Program because it is really good. I only have like 6 more books, guys, don't worry, so it won't be too much longer. So next, I have another fantasy book. I am trying to get more into fantasy and reading a lot more fantasy, so I figured the best way to read more fantasy is to own some more fantasy books. So this book just sounded really interesting. It is Gates of Thread and Stone by Laurie M. Lee. This book, I believe, is about a girl who can bend the threads of time, so she can basically time travel, and that just sounds really cool. I believe this is the first book in a new series. With it being fantasy and all, I believe it probably will be. But yeah, this book for a fantasy book isn't that long. It's only about 300 pages, which, you know, it's a good starting book. I hope it's really good. It is a new release. It did come out in the beginning of October, beginning of September, so it is a newer release. I haven't heard too many people talking about this one. Next, I have a book that I have already read the entire series of, but this book is like a companion book to it, kind of, and that is 4 by Veronica Roth. I almost just hit myself in the face. And this book is 4 short stories, or 4 novellas, bound up into one from 4's point of view, and it just seems like I have read and loved the Divergent series, and I figured I should just read this, and hopefully I'll enjoy it. It'll be cool to see 4's perspective compared to Triss's perspective, more than just in the Allegiant book. Next, I have Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. This book is like a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and on the front it says her mission was to kill him, her destiny was to love him. So I'm assuming it's going to be like a, I don't know, I want to say like a cool retelling of it, like where she's supposed to kill him and then automatically falls for him, but I'm not really too sure what this is about. I've just heard it's really good things, and I've heard it's about, or like a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. It sounded interesting. My book pile is probably going to fall at some point. Next, I have another fantasy book, and I've read one of this author's books earlier in the year, and then this book I've heard highly recommended by Reagan from Peruse Project, and this is Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. She loves Brandon Sanderson's writing, and I read The Arithmetist by Brandon Sanderson earlier this year, and I absolutely loved it, and so hopefully this one will be just as good, if not better. And I know there is a sequel to this book coming out next year, I believe. A lot of sequels to books coming out next year. So, 2 left. We're almost there. Don't worry. You guys are awesome for surviving this far. Next, I have a book that came out September 2nd, and I haven't even started the series yet, but I just automatically picked it up because I've heard amazing things about the series so far. And that is Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. This book is a mammoth. It is humongous. This is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. I believe that it's not a trilogy because there's definitely more books coming out, but this book just is so beautiful. All the covers of the Throne of Glass series are so beautiful. I'm glad they've changed it so that it's a drawing more than like an actual person, but yes. I'm excited to get into the Throne of Glass world and just absolutely love it because I've already got the 4 books that are out currently, so. And finally, this was my most recent buy. I bought this book yesterday at Walmart for the sole purpose that it was on sale for 40% off, and I haven't even started the series. I haven't even started the series that's before it. I haven't even gotten into the world. But it was on for $12 at Walmart instead of $20. So, nobody judge me for this. I haven't read the first series. I haven't read this series. But I already own this book. Yeah. And that is The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. I have not started the Percy Jackson series. This book is still on my TBR, for October. I haven't even thought of reading it yet. I own the whole Percy Jackson series. I don't own any of the Heroes of Olympus series besides this one. So I've got about 10 books to read or 9 books to read before I can even read this one. But it was such a good deal. This is when I realized I have a book addiction. When I pick up a book that I don't even, I can't even read for a month. I have problems, guys. But this is the last book in my book haul, so you guys have survived a whole 12 and a half minutes of me. So that's fun. Yeah. So let me know in the comments below if you have read any of these books. I'm sure some of you probably have. And let me know what books you're reading currently. And yeah. So until next time, or until tomorrow, because I will have a new video up tomorrow. Have a great day or night, and I will see you again really soon. Bye!